Welcome back to That God Power. This is the channel where we're going to unlock the God Power laying dormant on the inside of you. But first today, we're going to continue breaking down the book of Genesis. Last time we did 46, now we're on 47. 46 was a lot of names. We went through a lot of names because we went through all the descendants of Jacob or Israel. So now in 47, we're going back into story mode. So let's see what happens as the Israelites, all Jacob's descendants, Israel's descendants, go into Egypt, and they're going into the land of Goshen. Hopefully, that's what they're hoping. So they're there, and we need to see what's happening while they're there, because while they're there, the famine has not stopped, y'all. We got to remember the famine is still going on. So 47. Then Joseph went to see Pharaoh and told him, "My father and my brothers have arrived from the land of Canaan. They have come with all their flocks and herds and possessions, and they are now in the region of Goshen." Joseph took 5 of his brothers with him and presented them to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh asked the brothers, "What is your occupation?" They replied, "We, your servants, are shepherds, just like our ancestors. We have come to live here in Egypt for a while, for there is no pasture for our flocks in Canaan. The famine is very severe there, so please, we request permission to live in the region of Goshen." Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Now that your father and your brothers have joined you here, choose any place in the entire land of Egypt for them to live. Give them the best land of Egypt. Let them live in the region of Goshen. And if any of them have any special skills, put them in charge of my livestock too." So Pharaoh, again, is so good with Joseph that his whole family is getting treated nicely. Like they're put on a pedestal above everyone else that already lived in Egypt. And that's cool. So then Joseph brought in his father, Jacob, Israel, and presented him to Pharaoh. And Israel blessed Pharaoh. And then Pharaoh was like, "How old are you?" And then Israel replied, "I've traveled this earth for 130 years, but my life has been short compared to the lives of my ancestors." And then Jacob blessed Pharaoh again before leaving his court. So I think that was significant to write down, because I don't think that the Egyptian people were really old like that. But the Canaanites, the people who came from Jacob and his father Isaac and all these people going back, they got old. So that's like the first question Pharaoh was asking was like, "Dude, how old are you? What the heck?" That's how I took it. That's like kind of like, why would you write down that he asked how old is he? I feel like it was significant because bro was mad old, and the Egyptians probably didn't live like that, and they're like, "You're old as a mug, dude." So Joseph assigned the best land of Egypt, the region of Ramses, to his father and his brothers, and he settled them there, just as Pharaoh commanded. And Joseph provided food for his father and his brothers in amounts appropriate to the numbers of dependents, including the smallest children. So he made sure that everybody was good in his family. Now, let's change gears here and look at how Joseph was also handling the actual famine. So we know that he's got his family separate in this place called Goshen, which is a little bit north of Egypt, closer to the water. So it's like a beach town, or probably a beautiful, the place of Ramses, you dig? So it's a beautiful town. But there's still a severe famine going on. So let's jump in. Let's see what happens there. Meanwhile, the famine became so severe that all the food was used up, and people were starving throughout the lands of Egypt and Canaan. But Canaan is to the east. It's over there by Jerusalem, or where we know Jerusalem at. So that's where Canaan is in relationship to Egypt, okay? By selling grain to the people, Joseph eventually collected all the money in Egypt and Canaan, and he put the money in Pharaoh's treasury. When the people of Egypt and Canaan ran out of money, all the Egyptians came to Joseph. "Our money is gone, but please give us food or we will die before your very eyes." Now, this is real quick. How come, I don't know if I've said this before, but how come in all the old movies they make people sound British? Like, I bet you if somebody was trying to do a recreation of this, they're going to make these people sound British, when clearly they're not. That's what I just did. And I think that I'm just, indoctrinated from our society. So sorry about that. He probably said, "Our money is gone, but please give us food, or we'll die before your very eyes." And then Joseph replied, "Since your money is gone, bring me your livestock. I will give you food in exchange for your livestock." So they brought their livestock to Joseph in exchange for food. In exchange for their horses, flocks of sheep and goats, herds of cattle and donkey, Joseph provided them with food for a whole nother year. So they were good, but remember, this famine is 7 years long, so it's a long famine. But that year ended, and the next year they came again and they said, "We cannot hide the truth from you anymore, my lord. Our money is gone, and all our livestock and cattle are yours. We have nothing left to give you but our bodies and our land. Why should we die before your very eyes? But us and our land, buy us and our land in exchange for food. We offer our land, ourselves as slaves for Pharaoh. Just give us grain so we may live and not die, and so the land does not become empty and desolate." Now, whomever the people were, right, that was actually a good plan. Whoever was like the council of the people who proposed this plan to Pharaoh, whoever, it's not literally the group in unison saying this, I don't think, right? But whoever the council of the people who presented this to Pharaoh, that's kind of not a bad plan, because, I mean, that kind of works out for everybody. Not the slave part, but I mean, what you're going to do? We're slaves in America to America. So, I mean, yeah. Okay. So Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh. All the Egyptians sold them their fields because the famine was so severe. And soon all the land belonged to Pharaoh. As for the people, he made them all slaves, from one end of Egypt to the other. The only land he did not buy was the land belonging to the priests. They received an allotment of food directly from Pharaoh, so they didn't need to sell their land. So the priests, wherever they was at, they were good. They didn't need food. I mean, they were good. They were being taken care of, just like Joseph was taking care of his family. So then Joseph said to the people, "Look, today I have bought you and your land for Pharaoh. I will provide you with seed so you can plant the fields. Then, when you harvest it, 1/5 of your crop will belong to Pharaoh. You may keep the remaining 4/5 as seed for your fields and as food for you and your households and your little ones." So Joseph, after having all the land of Egypt belonging to Pharaoh, which is belonging to him too, he's like, okay, well, I guess we can use this land to get more food. And so he made it so that all the food that's grown there, 1/5 of it belongs to Pharaoh. And the people can keep 4/5, and he distributes the seeds. So, I mean, that's a good deal. That's a good deal. And the people were like, "You've saved our lives. May it please you, my lord, to let us be Pharaoh's servants." Joseph then issued a decree still in effect in the land of Egypt that Pharaoh should receive 1/5 of all crops grown in his land. Only the land belonging to the priests was not given to Pharaoh. If there's any people who live in Egypt, who live in the Pharaoh's land, or if there's like separated towns like that over there in Egypt, I don't know. But if somebody really lives there, is it really like that? Do you have to give 1/5 of something to somebody? And if you do, let me know. But, if not, I'm just going to go chat GPT it after this. You know what I'm saying? Why wait for the comments, right? Anyways, next 27 says, Meanwhile, the people of Israel, this is Jacob's family, Israel's family, people of Israel settled in the region of Goshen in Egypt. There, they acquired property, and they were fruitful, and their population grew rapidly. Jacob lived for 17 years after his arrival in Egypt, so he lived for 147 years total. This is Jacob, guys, the main character that's been Jacob for the longest time, y'all. So, Israel, he's 147 years is how old he was. And as the time of his death drew near, Israel called for his son Joseph and said to him, "Please do me this favor. Put your hand under my thigh and swear that you will treat me with unfailing love by honoring this last request, to not bury my body in Egypt. When I die, please take my body out of Egypt and bury me with my ancestors." And Joseph promised, I will do as you ask. Swear that you will do it Israel said. So Joseph gave him his oath, and Jacob bowed humbly at the head of his bed. And that's the end of chapter 47. So basically, Israel, Jacob, not Joseph. Like, Joseph has been a main character, but his father, Israel, who was the previous main character and still has a huge role, he is coming to his death. And before he died, it looks like he blessed Pharaoh. It looks like he blessed Joseph. You know what I'm saying? He even asked a request from Joseph, like, yo, when I die, bro, just promise that you don't bury me in Egypt. I want to be buried with my ancestors. And then his son Joseph was like, yeah, no problem, Pops. I got you. You know what I'm saying? I got you. And that's the end of chapter 47. I think it was a really good chapter, looking at the food and the way that Joseph was able to distribute that food and then kind of like save the land of Egypt using their own resources. That was really cool. And I don't know why the people couldn't get that together on their own and do that. But the fact of the matter is, Joseph had all the food, he had the land, he had all the money. He was able to help those people out. And that was good leadership in a really tough time. In our time, people could have been corrupted. You know what I'm saying? People would have been corrupted. And people would have been start overcharging and doing all kind of stuff and not the right thing. But luckily, Joseph was a good leader and he did the right thing. Also, I wanted to address that when Joseph moved his family in, he moved them to the best region. He made sure they were good. He was like, yo, y'all don't even got to worry. And for that reason, their population boomed. And that means he has more descendants and ancestors, or family, period. So I thought that was pretty cool. I want to see what's going to happen in chapter 48. Thank you for joining me in chapter 47. I will holla at y'all on the next one. Just remember that you got that God power.
On your heart, tugging on your
Get them.